Well, coal homes are an absolute priority for the Liberal Democrats. We've got to tackle them. We've tried our hardest in government, even though we're in coalition. But the top priority is energy efficiency. The new target that we've brought in, following the Professor Hill's report, is focused on permanently solving fuel poverty. And the way to permanently solve fuel poverty and to help these people who are in real problems is to insulate homes, better boilers, cavity wall insulation, double glazing, draft proofing, the whole works, to make sure that people can live in comfortable, warm homes that they can afford to heat.
Well, we've got to make sure that first and foremost that people are paying a fair bill. That means we've got to tackle the energy companies, and that's why Labour will have a price freeze, but also alongside that, reform to the market to ensure that the bills we pay are fair. But the other side of the coin is the cheapest energy is the energy that we don't use. And we know around the country that many people might as well be burning money because they're seeing it disappear through their roofs and windows and doors. And I cannot accept that in 2015 that we aren't up to the task of a country in terms of tackling cold homes, and I'm determined to do something about that.
As Energy Minister, the most important thing for me has been to find solutions to make homes warmer for less. That, I know, is the most important thing to everybody who lives in the UK. And there are various ways of doing that. But first of all, what we've done so far, we've made 1 million homes permanently warmer using the subsidies from Eco and the Green Deal. That's a real achievement, 1 million homes now warmer for less. We've made sure that there's been reductions to bills, so under the Prime Minister's instruction, there was £50 was the average reduction taken off energy bills 18 months ago. And there's been a cut to the number of tariffs because, quite frankly, it was bewildering the number of tariffs people had to look at and try and work out which worked best for them. So we've given direction on that, which I believe makes it clearer for people to find the cheapest tariff for them. And above all, our reforms are driving greater reform within the market. The best way to get a more efficient, cheaper, effective market and indeed better service is to have more effective competition. And under our reforms, now 10% of the market is supplied by independents, up from 1% in just 2010. And there's now 21 independent domestic suppliers, and they're growing all the time. Just last week, we launched a switching campaign, and some of the amounts that people are saving on switching has been absolutely phenomenal, hundreds of pounds. But the estimate is that an average of £200 can be saved per family by switching. So we're trying to make it simpler, easier, more straightforward for people to switch, which is the most straightforward for them to save money. So there's lots of different things we can do, and we're doing them at the moment, but we would certainly carry those forward in a future government.
Well, just before the election, I published the first fuel poverty strategy for nearly 14 years. And that sets out a very ambitious set of policies. Some of them will need extra funding, and Liberal Democrats have said that we will deliver on extra funding for energy efficiency and fuel poverty. But one of our key targets is to tackle those people in the deepest fuel poverty, following the way John Hill's set out, so we can target those people who are in the worst conditions. I think one of the key things to really increasing level of ambition is to see fuel poverty for what it is. It's a problem about housing, it's a problem about health, and we need all government departments to come together. In the fuel poverty strategy that I published, it was really trying to develop that cross-government approach, and also with working with local government and community energy partnerships. But the key for me is health, and we've set up some new health pilots. And I hope the next government will take those on to really explore how we can get the health service, the primary health care professionals, the GPs, the social workers, to be able to be on the front line to identify those people whose health is being damaged by the cold and make sure they're getting the help as quickly as possible.
We are going to give the monies that are available to communities to implement schemes to make sure people are living in warm homes and therefore paying less on their bills. But part of that package will be, for example, having 500,000 free energy assessments a year. And I say that because 2/3 of homes currently have never had an assessment of how they use their energy. And if you don't know what energy you're using, you can't think about how you might save money and also save energy and keep warm as well. Alongside that, we're going to make sure that the money that is available 200,000 homes a year of families that are either in fuel poverty or in danger of falling into fuel poverty can get a whole house retrofit to meet their needs as well. And look, I've seen in my own constituency in Doncaster, homes that have had external thermal render, other energy efficiency measures, and it's made a huge difference to their quality of life, but also the bills they have to pay. Alongside that, we believe that, those who can afford to pay a contribution shouldn't be left out as well. So we're going to tackle this problem that has beset the Green Deal and why it's been such a failure by offering 1 million interest-free loans over the next Parliament to help people to take initiatives for themselves. But let's not forget those people that are living in the private rented sector who need our help as well. Now, whilst the government has setting a target of E by 2018, which, we haven't got a problem with that, what I've got a problem with is not ambitious enough. So our plan is to make sure that within the private rented sector, they come up to C by 2027. We're looking at about 5 million homes being helped over 10 years. And as part of a national infrastructure priority, we're going to make sure that this isn't just something for a one-term government. This is something that's going to be embedded in the culture of our politics for the future.
Well, we certainly want to build on the success that we've had over the past few years. We want to look at the various different subsidies that have worked well and build on those. So I hope we've demonstrated that we will put our money, we will put government money, taxpayers' money, where it is greatest needed to get the biggest effect for making people's homes warmer for less. And we would continue to do that into a future government.
By 2020, we'll get rid of the worst performing homes. That's got to be the immediate ambition. But by the end of the decade, we want to have made sure that anyone who's in fuel poverty is at least a band C rated home, so that fuel poverty is tiny and can be addressed with other means. What we've said as the milestone to tackling fuel poverty is by the end of this decade, every home that's currently a G rated or an F rated home, anyone who's in fuel poverty living in those homes has got to be taken out of those homes, they've got to be brought up to standard. So a milestone is a minimum of E-rated homes by 2020. That's a start, and that would deal with some of the worst of the problems. But we've got to keep increasing our level of ambition, and so we want to get by the end of the next decade that every single person who's in the fuel poor category is in at least a band C rated home. And to me, 2030 is the backstop date.
Well, we're looking at our plans contributing to something like 5 million homes over 10 years. But I do believe the way we're going about this, having a different approach to enable communities to be in the driving seat, working with local authorities, working with charities, working with small and medium-sized businesses. As our programme rolls out, I actually believe we can be even more ambitious.
Well, it's going to be an ongoing battle to make people's homes warmer for less. We've extended ECO up to 2017, so there's certainty in the industry, and that will continue to make, we think, over 500,000 more homes insulated better, more effectively. And we've also introduced new regulations so that from 2018, private landlords won't be able to rent out their properties which don't meet minimum energy efficiency standards. And there'll be a legal obligation for as many fuel-poor homes as reasonably practicable to be raised to a Band C energy efficiency rating by 2030. So we've looked at these particular types of legislation for making the market adapt to a reasonable and effective requirement to make homes more energy efficient in order to reduce people's bills. We've put that legislation in place, and we think that combined with the eco target and other initiatives, that will help to accelerate making people's homes warmer for less.
Well, the Coalition brought in the Warm Home Discount Scheme. I think it's proved actually very significant because it's been using data held by the DWP on the lowest income households in our country and linking that to energy bills for the first time. So we would certainly want to keep that policy, improve it, reform it, take it further. So I think the Warm Home Discount is a critical area. The winter fuel allowance certainly has a role to play for the vast majority of pensioners. But we are going to need more resources to tackle fuel poverty, tackle poverty in general. And so we believe there's a case for means testing the winter fuel allowance to liberate some money, because I think if you're a high rate pensioner, you're unlikely to be in fuel poverty.
The truth is, one of the biggest groups that are suffering at the moment are the 1 million families with children on low incomes, who at the moment in many respects don't benefit from things like the Warm Homes discount. I think the Warm Homes discount is a good thing, but I would like to look at how we might actually offer that to, for example, families with children. On the winter fuel allowance, look, Labour invented the winter fuel allowance. That will stay, but we won't provide it for the richest 5% of pensioners, and I think that is a fair way to approach the winter fuel allowance. But let's be clear, all this support has to really go in hand with tackling, the big problem, which is the lack of energy efficiency within the homes of these very people that we're trying to help through the winter fuel allowance and the Warm Homes discount. So we've got to find a way that people can actually see some real tangible difference to the way in which they consume energy, but use it in a smarter way. And that can only happen with an energy efficiency programme that's fit for the job.
Just yesterday, the Prime Minister announced the continued support for pensioners. He's protected the winter fuel payment for all pensioners, and we've permanently increased the cold weather payments by nearly 3 times per payment. The Warm Homes discount is supporting over 2 million people each year, and spending to support fuel poor is now 3% higher in the last year of this spending review period than in 2010-11.
I think it's key. It's key to tackle fuel poverty, to deliver social justice, improve health outcomes. It's also important for the environment. If we're going to reduce carbon emissions, we've got to tackle energy efficiency, and particularly in the homes of the fuel poor. So we've said that energy efficiency should be part of the National Infrastructure Programme. I've sat on the Cabinet Committee that looks at the infrastructure programme, and it's often frustrated me that I've been able to put into there power plants and interconnectors and transmission lines and so on for oil and gas and electricity, but I haven't been able to put in energy efficiency measures. So I wanted to see that change. The Liberal Democrats want to see that change. So energy efficiency is a top national infrastructure priority. If we do that, we'll be able to see, I think, significant more funds. It will have the priority it deserves, and it will get not just the revenue funding, but the capital funding that it needs for energy efficiency broadly, but also targeted at the homes of the fuel poor.
Investment in energy efficiencies is one of the most practical ways we can enable people to pay lower bills. But I'm not convinced that the money that is currently available to tackle this problem is being used in the best way. And that's why we've said we'll take the money that it currently is provided through ECO. We'll look at other sources of money that is available as well to add to the pot, but also in delivering a scheme in a better way, not top down from the big six, but bottom up from within communities. We can actually not only, I think, get more for every pound that is invested, but also sort out some of the anomalies out there that exist because people live in different types of tenure of housing and somehow they slip between the cracks and don't get the energy efficiency measures that they need. I believe actually if you have a good pot of money locally that is very much focused on where the need is greatest, we can bring in other money from other resources as well to tackle these issues. So for example, I've been looking at how in parts of England the health service has contributed to helping families who are suffering from poor health with their energy efficiency too. But it is about making sure that we deliver something that has momentum, that isn't stopped just because we have a general election. And that's what we really need. I know only too well the devastating effects of coldness on those both old and young within communities. So I think there is a smarter way to deliver the money we have available at the moment in a more joined up way, but one in which actually gets the job done, but also creates jobs and opportunities as well. I also think the fact that Labour has committed to energy efficiency being a national infrastructure priority really does make it very clear that we're in this for the long term, and in the long term we're going to try and make sure we have resources to do the job and get this problem solved.
Energy efficiency is an absolute critical way of making sure that people's homes are made warmer for less and for generally reducing our carbon footprint as a country. So we don't underestimate the importance of energy efficiency. And we've introduced the most ambitious energy efficiency strategy of any government to date. For the first time, there's long-term legislation to ensure that those living in the private rented sector or in fuel poverty will get the help they need to make their homes warmer. Under this government, the number of people and homes and families in fuel poverty has fallen, and it will be our ambition to continue that decline under a future government.
We estimate that if the poorest households continue to live in life-threateningly cold conditions for over 15 years, the United Kingdom could potentially experience 100,000 needless premature deaths and force the NHS to spend in excess of £22 billion treating cold-related morbidity. No future government can accept this level of cost or suffering. Current government support schemes in England are insufficient to tackle the scale of fuel poverty and yet increase energy prices for those that don't benefit. They also fail to take account of the enhanced needs of vulnerable households. The schemes that operate across the devolved administrations also need to be expanded if the devolved nations are to meet their commitments to eradicate fuel poverty by set dates. Meanwhile, the Treasury is going to make almost £30 billion from domestic consumers over the next 10 years. There can be no excuses for the next government not spending the money that is needed to supplement these programmes and support all UK nations' attempts to end fuel poverty much faster. Energy efficiency is the most effective way to permanently reduce energy bills, and the only way to end fuel poverty across the UK is to make all homes occupied by low-income households super energy efficient. We have demonstrated how this is one of the best ways to support vulnerable constituents, create jobs and significant economic growth, and reduce government costs from hospital emissions and gas imports. Please make this a warmer, brighter future for millions of voters and commit within your own manifestos to an additional long-term funding stream to radically improve the energy efficiency of 2 million low-income homes by 2020 and end the suffering caused by fuel poverty within 10 years.
The NEA has always been an organisation that shows what works, very practical, giving advice on the ground.
Organisations like the NEA have helped me to better understand what works and what doesn't work. And when we were thinking about our policies, I very much wanted to move from a top-down to a bottom-up approach, and warm zones was my inspiration for that.
But also, it doesn't pull its punches. It tells government what it thinks, and that's exactly how it should be.
NEA, thank you. Thank you so much for your support. That doesn't mean that you're not going to challenge us in the years ahead, should we be successful in this election, but I always like a challenge, as you know.